Hey there, fellow brothers and sisters. Welcome to Irish Drifters Podcast, where every journey has a story. I'm John and I'll be your guide through uncharted paths and unforgettable moments. Let's hit the road together. Subscribe and let's get drifting.
Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're here. And if you're new, my name is John. As always guys, before we start today's episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out in future episodes. Let's get to it. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt your heart was about to leap out of your chest and your legs couldn't run fast enough? Well, let me take you back to a cold winter 97 an experience that would change the way I looked at life and fear. Mine nearly did. It was a cold winter night around November 97. It was one of those nights where you could feel there was just something off, something not quite right. The air was different, crisp and biting. The sun had long set, and the only source of light came from the dim street lights. I was around 14 years old, and I was standing outside with my friend Paddy. It was an unusually quiet night. The usual laughter and running feet of playing kids outside was absent. Normally, we'd be out there too, running around, causing trouble, or just hanging out. But tonight, it felt different. We were waiting for our friend Mickey, who was at home having dinner. His house was just a few doors down in the cul-de-sac. Paddy and I were about 20 feet from the top of the street, where the road curved into the cul-de-sac. There was definitely a strange tension in the air, and it made me feel easy. The usual noise from the neighbourhood was gone. No kids out playing, no noise of cars passing by. Just the occasional flicker of the street lights and the sound of the cold wind. This was definitely a night that felt different. Paddy and I exchanged very few quiet words. Nothing more than usual talk about school and whatever else was on our minds. I don't know why, but my senses were heightened. It felt as if something was coming. It was probably around 7 p.m. when we first saw them. Two men walking down the street. I didn't notice them right away, but as soon as they were under the streetlight, I froze. They were wearing balaclavas. The outlines of their faces barely visible in the dim light. One of them held something in his hand. Something that looked like a gun. Though the other was holding a bat. My heart dropped. There was no doubt in my mind they were up to no good. Paddy noticed the same thing. I could see the panic in his eyes. He didn't say anything, but I knew what he was thinking. We were in serious trouble. Without thinking, we turned and started running towards Mickey's house at the bottom of the cul-de-sac. My legs felt like lead, but adrenaline kicked in. Behind us, the men started running faster. "Stop!" I remember one of them yelled. I didn't dare look behind. I just ran. The sound of their footsteps grew louder, and we were almost at Mickey's house. My breath was coming in ragged grasps, and I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. We made it to Mickey's front door. We were so close, but before we could knock, the man had caught up with us. "Boys, stop," I remember one of them barked. We froze, of course, not knowing what to do. The man with the gun stepped closer, and I could feel the fear rising in my chest. "Who are you?" he asked. His voice was cold and menacing. I tried to steady myself, but my voice was shaking. "We're just waiting for friend Mickey," I stammered. The man didn't seem convinced, and he asked, "Do you know Patrick and David?" We both shook our head. We didn't know anyone by those names. They kept us there what felt like forever, asking us questions, their eyes never leaving us. Then suddenly, the man with the bat spoke. All right, he says, you two are not who we're looking for. But tell your friends we're looking for them. Tell them we've been watching. The mention of the names made my stomach turn, because I did know of those boys, but I wasn't sure it was the boys they were looking for. But what if? These were the guys who had been causing trouble around the estate. They were stoning cars and people's homes. They were troublemakers. But now it felt like we were in the middle of something more serious. The two men finally turned and walked up the cul-de-sac, leaving us standing there stunned in silence. We didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. Once they were out of sight, we knocked on Mickey's door. I remember his dad answered, looking surprised to see us. "Hey, what's up?" he said. Sensing something was wrong, we told him everything that happened. The men, the masks, the guns, and the bat. Mickey's dad didn't look so shocked as we thought he would. Instead, he nodded calmly. "That's just how it goes around here," he says. "As long as you stay out of trouble, you'll be all right." His reassurance was a relief, but it didn't completely ease the tension in my chest. As he let us in, we felt like we dodged a bullet, literally. But the feeling of dread didn't leave us. Later, when we were sitting in Mickey's house, we went to his room and listened to the music of the time, the rave, the pop music at that time, to kind of, shake things off. But it was hard to shake things off. It just happened, right? My heart was still racing. And I kept thinking about the two men, their faces hidden and their weapons so close. And what if they had done something worse? What if they didn't let us go? The thought made me uneasy. The adrenaline from running had worn off, but the fear was still there. And even though we were in the safety of Mickey's house, it felt like the night wasn't over yet. We sat there in silence for a while, each of us processing what happened in our own way. Mickey didn't say much, but his dad's words echoed in my mind. Stay out of trouble and you'll be all right. The night continued, the carefree atmosphere before had completely vanished. We talked about girls, school, and whatever else came to mind. But the underlying tension remained. Eventually, we heard a car pulling up outside, and we could see the light reflecting in Mickey's room. It was getting late. It was around 9 p.m. For me it was okay, but Paddy usually had to be home for about 8 o'clock. So again, he was going to get smacked up for that. And I didn't feel like talking anymore. I just wanted to forget about what happened and move on. As the night wound down, we said our goodbyes, and Paddy and I walked home. Paddy lived closer to Mickey's house, and I lived right at the top of the estate. So for me, it was much more scary for me to head back. The events of the night had changed us. It was a wake-up call. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew one thing for sure. Things were never gonna be the same again. The world seemed a little scarier now. But at least we were safe for now. Now, guys, that you've heard my story, I want you to think if you've ever felt that feeling of fear, or being in a situation where you didn't know if you're going to make it out. Share your comments below. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this journey with me and found this story entertaining, I encourage you to subscribe. Remember, the world is your garden. Get drifting. See you in the next one.